On the eve of the wedding, I was hit by my fiance's childhood friend, resulting in massive bleeding. My life hung in the balance. A close friend called my fiancée, only to have the call immediately hung up by her. All she left was this message: Jibai has caught a cold. I don't have time. My friend then called his own girlfriend, who had plenty of connections and influence. But he heard her say, Jibai is sick. At a time like this, he needs me by his side the most. After a night of emergency surgery, we locked eyes with each other in the hospital room. In unison, we said, I don't want to get married anymore. What I didn't expect was that when both women received the notice of our broken engagements, they went mad. My fiancé, Liu Ryan, who hadn't appeared all week, finally called. I answered, only to be greeted with a barrage of accusations. Joe Chin, what on earth is wrong with you? Both families have already settled on the wedding venue and the date, and you just call it off? What exactly are you trying to do? I opened my mouth to respond, but was immediately cut off by her angry tirade. How many times do I have to tell you? Jibai's health is fragile. A simple cold can easily turn into a life-threatening situation. I have to stay by his side to ensure his safety at all times. Why are you so jealous? You don't care about someone's life at all. Life. I couldn't help but laugh bitterly. Last night, I went alone to make wedding arrangements, and on the way home, I was hit by a speeding truck. At that moment, with every ounce of strength I had before losing consciousness, I tried to call Liu Ryan, but all I received was a cold, busy tone. Call rejected. Twice. Until I completely lost consciousness. A notification finally popped up on the blood-smeared screen. Liu Ryan impatiently sent a message. What do you want? Speak quickly. Seeing that I didn't reply instantly, she quickly sent another message. Are you sick? Do you really have to interrupt me now while I'm calming Jibai down? Do you even know Jibai is emotionally unstable? This could be fatal. Before and after I regained consciousness, Liu Ryan kept criticizing me endlessly. Suddenly, my phone was snatched by my good brother, Luo Yue, who had just walked in. He took it away. Liu Ryan, are you out of your mind? Last night, Zhou Chen was in a car accident. He was maliciously run over by the hit-and-run driver twice. If it weren't for the timely medical intervention, he wouldn't be here now. Can't you tell the difference between a common cold and a car accident? Liu Ryan, on the other end, sneered coldly. Are you really trying to lie like this in front of a professional doctor? Luo Yue, you're seriously overestimating your intelligence. And with that, she decisively hung up the phone. Luo Yue listened to the busy tone on the other end, his grip on the phone tightening until veins popped out on his hand. Almost in the next second, his phone rang. It was Luo Yu's fiancée, who also happened to be Liu Ryan's childhood friend, Fu Jingjing. Luo Yue, what on earth are you two trying to do? Do you even realize that because of your jealous lies here, Jibai got agitated? He almost had an attack. If it weren't for Ryan and me being here, what are you going to do about Jibai today? Can't you see a living person right in front of you? Our Fu family will never let someone so cruel like you join us. Marry if you want, I don't care. Luo Yue, furious, was about to curse out loud, but then he realized Fu Jingjing had already blocked him. Damn her entire family. I struggled to hold onto his hand. Don't be mad, Luo Yue. They're not worth it. Luo Yue looked at the medical devices hooked up to my body and asked worriedly, Zhou Chen, are you still in pain? I smiled and shook my head. It doesn't hurt anymore. I had already felt all the pain I could the moment Liu Ryan hung up the phone. I've been hurting enough to lighten the mood. Luo Yue casually put on a variety show for me. We started cracking sunflower seeds and commenting on it. That person doesn't look good. Sharp nose and monkey-like features. Definitely a pure comedy actor. This scene is so fake. It's clearly scripted. But soon, we could no longer laugh. On the screen, Fu Jingjing, one of the top stars in the entertainment industry, appeared. Everywhere on the screen, Luo Yu's face turned dark. He muttered something about bad luck. He was about to switch the channel quickly, but Fu Jingjing's voice from the screen stopped him. Right now, it was one of those emotional segments typical of variety shows. Fu Jingjing looked straight into the camera, her peach blossom eyes full of emotion. The thing I regret the most is not confessing my feelings to a boy that year. Everyone around started teasing her to reveal more. Meanwhile, Luo Yu's grip on the remote tightened even more. I gently patted his arm to comfort him, but my heart was filled with bitterness. Even though Fu Jingjing was engaged to Luo Yue, she never wanted to make it public. She always said it would affect her popularity and disrupt her normal work. Even though with Fu Jingjing's family background, joining the entertainment industry was just a way to kill time. Whenever Luo Yue brought it up, Fu Jingjing would lose her temper, constantly accusing him of not understanding her and not supporting her career. But she couldn't see that. Every time she ended up in negative headlines, Luo Yue would work tirelessly, without sleep, handling her PR crisis, fighting back against the negative press. Whenever her new show aired, Luo Yue would help promote it, building her up. Luo Yue once said he knew entering the entertainment industry was Fu Jingjing's dream, so he was willing to use all his strength to lift Fu Jingjing to the very top. But in Fu Jingjing's eyes, everything Luo Yue did was just a way to keep her by his side, nothing more than jealousy and control. She firmly believed the only ones who truly understood her in this world were her and Liu Ryan's childhood friend, Su Zhibai. Seeing the concern in my eyes as I looked at him, Luo Yue forced a smile. It's okay, Zhou Qin. We already decided long ago to break off the engagement, didn't we? After that, we just need to inform both sets of parents, and this matter will be done with. We'll be free. I nodded silently, acknowledging his words, but I never expected that. Later that night, I would receive a call from Liu Ryan. On the other end, she spoke with displeasure. Zhou Qin. Why are you being so unreasonable this time? Jibai caught a cold. I was just helping him recover. Do you really have to see everything in such a dirty light? Is that it? Just because of this small thing, you didn't even show up to the planned banquet. Now both sets of parents are here, waiting on just you. Zhou Qin, I advise you to be more sensible. Don't make me come get you myself. In the past, when Liu Ryan would reprimand me with such coldness, I would always feel deeply hurt. But now, facing her furious accusations, I merely replied calmly, Liu Ryan, since I'm calling off the engagement, there's no need for me to attend the banquet, is there? The mention of breaking off the engagement ignited Liu Ryan's anger once more. You could hear the rage in her voice as she shouted, do you even realize that your behavior right now is just some pathetic male competition? Zhou Qin, I had no idea you could be so stubborn and unreasonable. I even called you myself. Is it that hard for you to come down from your high horse? Everyone is here waiting for you. How much longer do you want to embarrass yourself? You must come today. Tell me where you are. I'll come get you right now. I looked at the hospital-branded blanket covering me and suddenly felt utterly exhausted. I'm at Anhua Hospital. Come pick me up if you want. After a brief silence, I heard a cold laugh from the other side of the phone. Zhou Qin, you're really lying without even trying to cover it up now, just to make me coaxu. You even go so far as to say such things. I closed my eyes and let out a bitter laugh. I knew all along that it would end like this. I always knew, no matter what I went through, in her eyes, it would never be as important as Su Zhibai losing a single strand of hair. I knew everything, yet I still held onto a foolish hope. Suddenly, a wave of nausea surged through my throat. I leaned over the edge of the bed, vomiting. Liu Ryan, oblivious to it all, remained in her lofty, superior stance. You're throwing a tantrum on your own. But don't drag Fu Jingjing's boyfriend into it too. They had plans today to meet with their parents to discuss the wedding date. But now they can't even see him. You can't handle your relationship. So you're dragging others down with you. And now you've even learned to use your own life as an excuse. Zhou Qin, don't you think you're being too cruel? If I coax you this time, what will you do next time? Self-harm just to force my hand? No matter what happens, Liu Ryan will always assume the worst, believing that I orchestrated everything just to manipulate her trivial sympathy. Even last year at the party, when Sujibai fed me food I was allergic to, causing a fever that wouldn't break, and nearly cost me my life, she just looked down at me with a cold, detached expression. Zhou Qin, your lying, deceitful ways disgust me to no end. Aren't you just trying to marry into the Liu family? You even managed to trick my parents into agreeing to the engagement. What are you still pretending for? In Liu Ryan's heart, I was nothing more than a cruel man, time and again using self-harm to drive a wedge between her and Sujibai. In the past, whenever she said things like this, I would desperately try to explain myself. But now, I just felt so tired. Tired to the point that I didn't even want to say a single word in defense. I said calmly, Liu Ryan, I'm calling off the engagement. When I'm feeling better, I'll personally explain everything to your parents. I won't be attending the banquet today. With that, I hung up the phone. But what I didn't expect was that Liu Ryan actually showed up. When she saw me really lying in the hospital bed, she immediately frowned. But before she could speak, Sujibai, who had followed behind her, walked in. He instinctively hooked his arm around Liu Ryan's, pressing his whole body against her. Sujibai looked at me as if staking his claim, his face squeezing out a fake show of sympathy. What happened? Zhou Qin, how did things turn out like this? I'm sorry, Zhou Qin. I really wasn't feeling well that day. That's why Ryan came to see me. Please don't be mad at her. Both families are still waiting for you at the hotel. What you're doing now is putting them in a difficult situation. Before he could finish his hypocritical remarks, Liu Ryan interrupted him. She looked at him, her eyes filled with nothing but tenderness. Jibai, you don't need to say all this to him. Zhou Qin, you're really going too far now. You think by putting on this act you can make me bow down to you? You must apologize to Jibai and to both families' elders. This is the last chance I'm giving you. If you don't, then forget about marrying into this family. I let out a cold laugh. Liu Ryan, we have nothing to do with each other anymore. Take your boyfriend and get out of my room. Hearing me mention her beloved Sujibai, Liu Ryan immediately flew into a rage. Her face twisted with anger, and she raised her hand. A heavy slap landed hard on my face. I was stunned. A faint taste of blood filled my mouth, and a ringing sound echoed in my ears. Sujibai let out a soft scream, quickly grabbing Liu Ryan's hand. Ryan, how could you do that? Even if Zhou Qin is faking his illness, it's because you haven't cared enough about him lately. Weren't we just saying on the way here to speak to Zhou Qin properly? Under his gentle reassurance, Liu Ryan gradually calmed down. But when she looked at my face, it was still full of disdain. Zhou Qin, why can't you learn from Jibai? While you're here throwing jealous fits, he's still understanding your feelings, even speaking up for you. You've been faking illness to slander him. Don't you feel ashamed? Slowly, I wiped the blood from the corner of my mouth, meeting her gaze steadily. Liu Ryan, if you really want to know whether I was in a car accident, just go outside, check my medical records, and ask the nurses on duty. Everything will be clear then. Do you not have a mouth? Or have you just lost your mind? To keep acting crazy here? Liu Ryan sneered. Do you think I don't know what kind of person you are? This time, you even hired extras for your little show. I really have to admire your acting skills, Zhou Qin. As we stood in deadlock, the doctor pushed open the door and entered. He looked a bit surprised as he asked, Senior sister, what are you doing here? Liu Ryan, caught off guard by seeing her junior from the same department, showed a look of surprise. The doctor's eyes shifted between the three of us, and soon he seemed to understand. So you and your fiancé are friends of Mr. Zhou? Here to visit him, right? I have to say, Mr. Zhou is really unlucky. He was run over by a truck 2 or 3 times before being rushed to the hospital. Not only did he suffer from massive internal bleeding, but he also broke several bones. If he hadn't been brought in so quickly, we worked through the night to save him. He might not even be here now. Liu Ryan's pupils suddenly contracted. She looked at me in disbelief. Zhou Qin, you really... The doctor, familiar with the situation, continued speaking. Senior sister, since you're here, could you take a look at my treatment plan? Mr. Zhou still needs a long recovery period. Otherwise, it could seriously affect his future life. As the doctor spoke, Liu Ryan's fists clenched tightly, sensing the situation worsening. Su Zhibai quickly grabbed Liu Ryan's arm, gently speaking. Ryan, let's talk too. The doctor, okay? It's only right to show some care for Zhou Qin, don't you think? But Liu Ryan didn't move an inch. She kept staring at me, insistently asking, Zhou Qin, what you said, Doc, could it all be true? I didn't reply. Instead, I called out to the doctor, my face hurts. Could you take a look at it for me? The doctor's gaze fell on my face, and he immediately shouted, Who laid a hand on the patient? That's unacceptable. Hold on, Mr. Zhou. I'll get a nurse to bring some cold compresses. Liu Ryan, realizing I had ignored her, seemed to become more aware of the situation. She pulled her arm away from Su Zhibai, her voice trembling as she asked, Zhou Qin, did you really get into a car accident? Liu Ryan. A furious voice came from the doorway. It was Luo Yue, who had just returned from buying something. With his naturally fiery temper, seeing Liu Ryan and Su Zhibai standing together in my hospital room immediately made him explode. You scumbag pair! Can't you stay far away? Is Zhou Qin not suffering enough already? The more Luo Yue spoke, the angrier he became, throwing the shopping bags in his hand straight at Liu Ryan. Get out! Get out of here! Su Zhibai, unwilling to be outdone, stepped forward to assert himself. Luo Yue, I know you're close to Zhou Qin, but you can't treat Ryan like this. Zhou Qin has refused to show up at the wedding banquet for far too long. We just came to check on him. Out of concern, of course. Besides, we didn't expect Zhou Qin to hurt himself so badly just to spite Ryan. As he spoke, he dramatically wiped away to fake tears, seeing Su Zhibai continuing to spread rumors that I orchestrated all of this. Luo Yu's anger flared up. He took 2 steps forward and slapped Su Zhibai right across the face. You like picking up what others throw away. Neither Zhou Qin nor I want any part of that. May the 3 of you burn together in misery. Have a perfect marriage, but stay far away from us. Su Zhibai screamed, his eyes quickly filling with tears. Luo Yue, how can you just hit someone like that so casually? You're Jing's boyfriend. Don't you know you should be more careful with your actions to avoid dragging her into scandals? I was really sick that day. Jing and Ryan came to help take care of me because we've all known each other since childhood. If you're really upset, I'll kneel down and apologize to you. Once you calm down, don't be so impulsive. He made a move to kneel, but Liu Ryan didn't step forward to support him. Su Zhibai turned back, surprised, only to see Liu Ryan staring blankly at the items that had fallen out of Luo Yu's shopping bag. It was a bag of gummy candies. All this time, I had been the one taking care of Liu Ryan's daily needs. I always thought it was my duty as her fiancé, so I put all my heart into it. She was busy with work. She was always leaving early and coming back late. Her meals never on time, so I would put a bag of those gummy candies in her handbag. I once told Liu Ryan, when I was a child, the thing I hated most was getting sick, because I was scared of pain and bitter medicine. But despite that, I was always sick with little illnesses as a kid, constantly needing injections and medicine. Whenever I cried, my mom would put one of these candies in my mouth. To me, this candy was not just a comfort, but also a symbol of family and care. Back then, when I told Liu Ryan this story, though she seemed impatient, she still accepted the candy. Later on, when I accidentally cut my finger with a knife, she saw me trying to hold back my tears. She took one of the candies from the bag and put it in my mouth. At that moment, I naively thought that Liu Ryan had remembered what I had told her, that she was slowly starting to accept me. But in the end, it was all just my imagination. Liu Ryan, how can you remember Su Zhibai's birthday, his favorite restaurant, and which shoes match which pants for him? But you can't remember the one thing about me. That a person who's been afraid of pain all their life had to make a huge decision to hurt himself just to earn your true affection? Su Zhibai suddenly tugged at Liu Ryan, bringing her back to reality. She looked at Su Zhibai in confusion. What is it? Su Zhibai bit his lip, but still put on his usual soft demeanor. Ryan, Luo Yue said ... He wants me to kneel before to forgive me. I'm sorry, Luo Yue. Zhou Qin, I know all of this is my fault. Now I'll kneel before you both. Please don't be angry anymore. Liu Ryan finally thought to pull Su Zhibai up, but her previous righteous indignation was gone. She merely said flatly, there's no need for this. Zhou Qin, recover well. I'll postpone the wedding. Once you're better, we'll get married. As she spoke, it seemed like she had made some firm decision, lightly adding another sentence. I'll take a leave from the hospital tomorrow to stay with you until you're discharged. As soon as she said this, everyone in the room's expression changed. Su Zhibai couldn't even pretend to be gentle anymore, immediately pulling on Liu Ryan's sleeve, anxiously asking, Ryan, you're in the middle of an important evaluation right now. If you take leave, won't people gossip? I know you care about Zhou Qin, but you need to think about your own future too. Zhou Qin's just throwing a tantrum. Nothing serious will happen, even if you're truly worried. You can hire a few professional caregivers for him. Luo Yue, like a protective mother hen, spread his arms wide, blocking her from getting closer to me. Who do you think you are? Zhou Qin doesn't need you. He's not going to marry you. And he certainly doesn't need your care. The best thing you can do for Zhou Qin now is to stay as far away as possible. Liu Ryan frowned deeply. I knew her too well, and just by that gesture alone, I could tell what she was thinking. I already knew it. She's utterly frustrated right now. However, Liu Ryan surprisingly didn't explode in anger. Instead, she softened her tone, speaking gently to me, as if trying to reason, even though Luo Yu stood protectively in front of me. Me, Zhou Qin, don't be angry anymore, she said. I'm a professional doctor. I know how to help you recover better. But if you still feel upset, I'll apologize to you. You know what's best for you, right? I looked past Luo Yu's arm, shielding me, and gazed at Liu Ryan's face. All I could feel was how unfamiliar this face had become to me. Even in her apology, Liu Ryan still maintained that superior attitude. Of course, she didn't actually believe that she had done anything wrong. She never really understood that the phone calls she ignored, the ones I could never get through, hurt me far more than the crushing weight of the wheels. I gently pushed Luo Yu's arm down, wearing an expression I had never shown to Liu Ryan before. Cold and indifferent. Liu Ryan, I said, wake up. We're done. I don't need your care. Nor do I need you to pretend to be a good person in front of me anymore. When I needed you the most, you didn't come. Now, whatever you're doing to make up for it, I don't need it. Liu Ryan had been indulged by me for too long. In the past, I always catered to her, so she never experienced what it felt like to be opposed by me. Her eyes flashed with anger, but she forced herself to suppress it. Jo Kyun, she demanded. What do you want me to do exactly? Do I have to kneel before you too, for you to be satisfied? The old me. If I had seen Liu Ryan treating me like an enemy, with such an attitude, would have been devastated. But now, my heart felt neither sorrow nor joy. Calm and unshaken. After that, Liu Ryan began clinging to me. It was as if she had forgotten how I had once harshly scolded her with cutting words. Yet she came to my hospital room daily, bringing tea and water, as punctual as if she were clocking in for work. At first, Luo Yuk would loudly berate her, even locking the door, refusing to let her step inside. But soon enough, Luo Yuk had no energy left to manage my affairs, because F. Zheng started clinging to him too. At a dinner where both families were supposed to meet, Luo Yuk, who usually prioritized F. Zheng, was conspicuously absent. Not long after, F. Zheng received word of their breakup. Initially, she didn't take it seriously, thinking it was just me causing trouble and dragging Luo Yuk into it. Pressuring both her and her childhood friend, she naively assumed that once we finished our squabble, we would apologize profusely like before, and I'd go back to taking care of them like a servant. But after a week of waiting, not only did Luo Yuk show no intention of returning, he even called in a moving company to take all his belongings out of her house. F. Zheng flew into a rage, detaining the movers. She was yelling for Luo Yuk to come out and give her an explanation. Luo Yuk, generously giving her face, showed up and barely berated her from head to toe. This scene was caught by paparazzi. Without Luo Yuk tirelessly managing PR and suppressing negative press, the video quickly spread across online platforms. In the video, Luo Yuk stood with one hand on his hip, pointing a finger at F. Zheng's face, and without any decorum, he roared, F. Zheng, don't think your measly fame is real fame. I've been managing your data and fan base for years, doing everything behind the scenes. If we're splitting up, I should get a share of the assets too. 80% of your fans should belong to me. Do you really think I enjoy seeing your miserable face parading around in front of me? You can't even act without me feeding you every line. A vase like you, who needs a drama coach for every scene? When will you give me half of that fee? That's the least you could do after all these years. You keep saying going public would disappoint your fans, but then you turn around and go on variety shows reminiscing about your first love. I thought I was such a threat, but now I realize I'm not even as damaging as your fake 5'9" height. I watched the figure in the video, seeing how Luo Yu's words exploded F. Zheng's face into shades of blue and purple. I couldn't help but laugh. But as I laughed, the only thing left in my heart was a faint emptiness. Once upon a time, Luo Yuk also had a dream of making it in the entertainment industry. But his family decisively rejected that dream, saying it wasn't fitting for someone of his status. Because of that, when his parents suggested he get close to F. Zheng, Luo Yuk immediately agreed. In his eyes, F. Zheng was someone who dared to challenge the family mission she was burdened with. She's someone who bravely pursued freedom, he thought. Long suppressed and restrained, Luo Yuk desperately chased after the light F. Zheng seemed to emit. But none of us knew that behind that dazzling light was nothing more than a large, low-quality incandescent bulb. But after we, like frantic moths, flew away from that light, It made them restless. What are you staring at so intently? Liu Ryan, who arrived at my hospital room right on time, took a step forward, snatching the tablet from my hands. You're a patient now. You need to focus on healing. You can't keep staring at electronic screens like this. I looked at Liu Ryan's back, calmly saying, Liu Ryan, we need to talk. She froze for a moment, but didn't turn around. Pretending she hadn't heard, she busied herself with adjusting the corner of my blanket, saying, you need to keep warm. Don't catch a cold. Frustrated, I yanked the blanket off and threw it onto the floor. Liu Ryan, pretending to be deaf won't help. We're going to talk. Finally, she stopped avoiding my gaze, though her lips remained tightly pursed, her face full of resistance. Jo-kyun, I won't agree to break off our engagement. I'm willing to spend all my time taking care of you, but letting you go is absolutely impossible. I stared at her coldly. Do you even know that on the day of the car accident, I called you twice? But you rejected both calls. No matter what you do now, it only reminds me of how helpless I felt lying on the ground that day. While you were at Sejbai's house, taking care of him like this. Liu Ryan's arms suddenly tensed, and for the first time, a flicker of regret appeared in her eyes. Jo-kyun, listen to me. Sejbai and I grew up together. I've always treated him like a younger brother, so taking care of him has become a habit. That day, Jbai was really in bad shape. When is he ever not in bad shape? I locked eyes with Liu Ryan, asking her word by word. On my birthday, Sejbai said he was sick, and you left a room full of friends, leaving them to mock me while I sat alone. When I was sick, Jbai claimed the dust in his house was suffocating him, so you went to be with him, leaving me alone in the hospital, unable to even go to the bathroom by myself. There are too many instances like this. Liu Ryan, can you give me one example of a time when Sejbai was healthy enough to not interfere with our lives? Faced with my relentless questioning, Liu Ryan was left speechless, her head bowed. I looked at this scene before me, and a surge of vindictive satisfaction filled my heart. But that malicious satisfaction only lasted for a fleeting moment. That fleeting satisfaction gradually transformed into an overwhelming burden, a helplessness so heavy it threatened to crush me. So many grievances from the past. How had I managed to endure them all? How had I convinced myself to get through it, time and again? Oh, I remember now. Sejbai was always at his best. Whenever we were in the middle of a fight, he was busy meddling between us, stirring up trouble in our relationship. Liu Ryan, are you really going to pretend you haven't seen any of this? Liu Ryan's lips trembled, but before she could say a word, her phone suddenly rang. I recognized it immediately. It was the special ringtone Liu Ryan had set for Sejbai. Liu Ryan bit her lip and declined the call, but before long, the ringtone echoed again. Liu Ryan looked at me, seeking help. Jo-kyun, I'm worried he might need something. I let out a cold, mocking laugh, wrapped myself tighter in the blanket, and turned away. From the other end of the phone, Sejbai's fragile voice came through. Ryan, can you come see me? My heart doesn't feel right. It's beating so fast. I feel like I'm going to die. I'm sorry for always troubling you, but my parents are abroad, and the only people I'm familiar with now are you and Zheng. Zheng isn't answering my calls. I'm so scared that I'll die alone today. Here we go again. Feeling unwell had practically become Sejbai's default passive skill. No matter what he said, Liu Ryan would always fall for it. She always took the bait. I chuckled coldly. I waited for the sound of the door closing, but to my surprise, a voice as cold as ice came from behind me. Siege by. I'm with Joe Kuhn right now. If there's something you're unsure of, call 120 yourself. Stop calling me. Then, Liu Ryan hung up the phone. She eagerly turned to face me, like a puppy seeking praise. Joe Kuhn, did you hear that? I won't leave you again. Just relax and focus on getting better. Okay, if this had happened in the past, if Liu Ryan had spoken to me like this, I would have woken up from a dream laughing. Maybe I wouldn't have been able to resist setting off a few firecrackers outside. But now, when faced with her kindness, I could only respond with a cold sneer. Liu Ryan, you see, you do know how to treat someone well. You know how to ease my doubts, how to make me feel like I'm the most special person to you. But you've always just refused to do it. I turned away from her again, speaking calmly as I faced the other way. Liu Ryan, if you don't leave now, I'll call security. In the reflection of the mirror, I saw the joy fade from Liu Ryan's face bit by bit. Her voice, now tinged with a hint of hurt. Joe Kuhn, I've taken such good care of you, and you still won't forgive me? I know I didn't do well before, but now I finally understand. You're the only one I love. What I feel for Siege by is just a habit I've built up over time, nothing more. Love. Laughing so hard my entire body shook. I laughed so hard that tears started streaming down my face. Liu Ryan couldn't understand why I had suddenly become like this. Frightened, she held onto my body, worried I might lose balance and fall off the bed. Joe Kuhn, what's wrong? I'm sorry. I didn't mean it that way. Please don't scare me, but I just laughed. I had never realized that all of Liu Ryan's indifference towards me, her scolding, and her constant accusations were in her mind expressions of love. As she tried to soothe me, I gradually calmed down, wiping away the dampness from the corners of my eyes with my knuckles. I grabbed the tablet, pulled up a diagnosis report, and handed it to Liu Ryan. Calmly. Liu Ryan, if this is what you call love, then maybe you're better suited to a robot caretaker. I wasn't like Luo Yuk, capable of hurling insults with eloquence. This was the cruelest thing I could manage to say. But across from me, Liu Ryan's hands began to tremble. Her eyes slowly turned red, staring at me in near disbelief. She murmured, "This can't be true. Joe Kuhn, I'm begging you. Tell me this isn't real." Seeing my unchanged expression, Liu Ryan even knelt down before me, crawling a few steps closer, resting by my bedside. The doctor, always so cold and detached, was now clutching the edge of my blanket, sobbing uncontrollably. Joe Kuhn, I'm begging you. Tell me. This is a lie. You made this report to hurt me on purpose, didn't you? Please tell me it's not real. Say something. Joe Kuhn, this is a lie. You're lying to me. I could only laugh. A laugh filled with despair and sorrow. Liu Ryan, you didn't see wrong. That car accident took most of my internal organs. The tablet slipped from her hands, crashing to the floor, the screen shattering into pieces. Liu Ryan's eyes and nose were swollen red, her throat emitting a wounded animal's cry. But I just looked at her calmly, pressing the call button by my bed. Soon enough, security arrived, dragging the sobbing, grasping Liu Ryan out of the room. Buzz! A message from Luo Yuk appeared on my phone. I found it. Joe Kuhn, your accident. It was orchestrated by Siege by. For some reason, upon hearing the truth, I felt an odd sense of calm, as if I'd expected it all along. No wonder Siege by had managed to keep Liu Ryan tied to him that day. No wonder even F. Zheng was conveniently called away by him. It turned out he had planned everything in advance. He wanted to drag me into hell on what should have been my happiest day. And Liu Ryan, all she did was cut the last thread of hope I was holding onto. I thought for a moment, then told him, send it to the Liu and F families. They need this evidence. Even more than we do. Luo Yuk responded with an okay hand emoji. After a long pause with the typing indicator flashing, he sent another message. Jo Kyun, I think I'm ready to leave. What about you? I smiled. You leave. I'll leave too. We're always in this together. Good brothers to the end. Whether it's a wedding, or a breakup, or maybe leaving with a broken heart. Not long after, we heard that Sejbai had gone mad. No one knew exactly what Liu Ryan and F Cheng did, but every day Sejbai wandered the streets, kneeling before strangers to beg for forgiveness, claiming he was an unforgivable sinner. His erratic behavior terrified passers-by, and he was eventually locked up in a mental institution. On the day Sejbai was admitted to the psychiatric ward, F Cheng and Liu Ryan finally came to visit my hospital room again. They brought their parents and engagement rings, hoping to atone for their sins. But what awaited them was nothing but an empty hospital bed. Liu Ryan and F Cheng frantically searched for us, but it was as if Luo Yuk and I had vanished into thin air. We were never seen again. In the end, Liu Ryan, after years of heavy drinking, made a critical mistake during an important surgery and was fired from the hospital. The once promising young chief surgeon became a recluse, wasting away in her room. As for after that infamous video, her popularity plummeted. She ultimately retired from the entertainment industry. After leaving the spotlight, she released a single titled To Luo Yuk. The song became an instant hit, spreading like wildfire. Even in the small town where Luo Yuk and I lived, we could hear it playing. But we just tossed a few more groceries into our cart and quickly left the store. Such bad luck, Luo Yuk said. I nodded in agreement. Yeah, really bad luck.